At my wife's ultrasound appointment, the doctor's hands began trembling as he stared at the monitor. He pulled me aside to a private room, his face pale. "Sir, you need to leave immediately and file for divorce." I thought he'd lost his mind. "What? Why?" "There's no time to explain right now, but trust me, you're in danger." When I finally saw what he'd discovered, my world shattered. "If you've ever placed your trust in the wrong person type, I understand. And if possible, share your story below. I'll read every single comment." At 55, I'd built more than I ever thought possible. A real estate portfolio worth $18.5 million, a company that bore my name. A reputation in Charleston that opened doors before I knocked. But I would have traded every brick and beam to have Diane back. My first wife died 6 years ago. Cancer swift and merciless. For 2 years after I wandered through my own life like a ghost in an empty house. Then I met Linda. She was 40 when we married 5 years ago, young enough to make me feel alive again, old enough to understand grief. She moved into the historic district home Diane and I had restored together, and slowly the house felt less like a mausoleum. Last January, she told me she was pregnant. 7 months later, I sat at the head of my own dining table watching my family eat the meal Linda had prepared. My daughter Olivia, 32, brilliant Diane's ghost, in every gesture sat beside her husband Trevor. He'd been my VP at Bennett Properties for 3 years now, capable, ambitious. The son I'd never had. Linda moved around the table, glowing in that way pregnant women do, her hand resting on the curve of her belly. "More wine, honey?" she asked, refilling my glass before I could answer. The headache that had plagued me for weeks pulsed behind my eyes. I'd been to the doctor twice. "Stress," he said. "Overwork." "Nothing serious." "You okay, Dad?" Olivia asked. "You look pale." "I'm fine, sweetheart." I forced a smile. "Just tired." "You've been tired a lot lately," Linda said, concern creasing her forehead. She pulled a small bottle from her pocket, shook out 2 capsules. "Your vitamins. You forgot them this morning." I took them. Swallowed them with water. They tasted faintly bitter, but vitamins often did. "Oh," Linda's face lit up. "I almost forgot Lucas. The ultrasound appointment is next Tuesday at 10. You'll come with me, won't you? I really want you there." "Of course," I said. "I wouldn't miss it." She beamed, squeezing my shoulder as she passed. Trevor smiled across the table. "That's great, Dad," he said. "Big moment finding out if it's a boy or girl." "We'll find out together," Linda said, her eyes on mine. Warm, loving, perfect. The conversation shifted. Olivia talked about a new client at her therapy practice. Trevor mentioned the Mount Pleasant development permits finally approved groundbreaking in June. Linda laughed at something, her hand finding mine across the table. I looked at them, my family gathered around my table, and felt something I hadn't felt since Diane died. Gratitude? Except Trevor's hand lingered on Linda's shoulder when he passed her the bread basket. Just a second too long. Except Linda's phone buzzed 3 times during dinner, and each time she turned it face down without looking. Except when I mentioned a hotel charge on the company card last month. Wentworth Mansion, 847th house. Trevor's face went very still before he said, "Client dinner. The Harpers from Atlanta." I didn't remember us courting the Harpers, but I was tired. The headache was getting worse, and my family was here whole and happy. I took another sip of water, not knowing I was swallowing down poison with it. 3 days later, the headaches were no longer something I could ignore. I woke that morning to find Linda already dressed. Her face creased with concern as she watched me struggle to sit up. Everything ached. My joints felt like they'd been filled with lead, and the nausea hit before my feet even touched the floor. "Lucas, you're seeing Dr. Andrew Mitchell, L., today." Not a question. She was already holding my phone. "I'm calling right now." "I'm fine," I said, but even I didn't believe it anymore. The vitamins she'd been giving me weren't helping. If anything, I felt worse. "You're not fine." Her hand on my shoulder felt almost genuine. "Please, for me." Dr. Andrew Mitchell, L., had been my physician for 15 years. He listened patiently as I described the symptoms. The persistent headaches, the nausea that came in waves, the exhaustion that made climbing stairs feel like summiting a mountain. "Joint pain?" he asked, pressing on my knees. I winced. "Started a few days ago." He sat back, removing his stethoscope. "Lucas, you're 55. You run an $18 million real estate empire. You just took on that Mount pleasant development. He gave me that look doctors reserve for type A personalities. Classic stress. Your body's telling you to slow down. But the nausea? Stress can manifest physically. GI issues, headaches, fatigue textbook. He scribbled on his prescription pad. I'm ordering some blood work just to be safe, but I'd bet my license it'll come back normal. In the meantime, get some rest. Consider these if the anxiety gets worse. He handed me a script for anti-anxiety medication. Linda squeezed my hand. See, I've been telling you to take it easy. That evening, Linda brought me chamomile tea and another one of those horse pill vitamins. Dr. Andrew Mitchell, L., said, rest so rest. I'll handle dinner. She kissed my forehead like I was a child. I swallowed the capsule. The bitter taste lingered even after the tea. My phone buzzed. Olivia. Hey, Dad. Just checking on you. Linda said you saw Dr. Andrew Mitchell. L. He thinks it's stress. Good. That's good. A pause. Oh, and those DNA kits I mentioned. They arrived today. Trevor and I are going to do ours this weekend. Isn't that exciting? Something cold settled in my chest. Yeah, exciting. After we hung up, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about that dinner 3 nights ago. The way Linda's hand had trembled when she'd given me those vitamins. The look she'd exchanged with Trevor when Olivia mentioned DNA testing. My gut, the same instinct that had built a multi-million-dollar business, was screaming that something was wrong. But Dr. Mitchell had said stress. Linda had said rest. And that night when she handed me another capsule, I took it without question. I took another vitamin without question. The ultrasound appointment was Tuesday morning, 10 days after that dinner. Linda had been excited all week talking about nursery colors, baby names, whether we'd learn the gender. I drove us to the medical center at Charleston Women's Health, her hand resting on mine whenever I shifted gears. I'm so glad you're here, she said as we pulled into the parking lot. This is our moment, Lucas. Our family. Our moment. Our family. The ultrasound room was dim clinical, the screen glowing blue as the technician squeezed cold gel onto Linda's rounded belly. I stood beside the bed, holding her hand, watching the grainy image flicker across the monitor. There's the head, the technician said, moving the transducer wand slowly. And the heart-strong rhythm, 140 beats per minute. Everything's developing beautifully for 32 weeks. Linda squeezed my hand, smiled up at me with tears in her eyes. I smiled back, feeling nothing but the dull throb behind my temples that had become constant. Then the technician's hand stilled. Her eyes fixed on a second monitor, one displaying lab results instead of the ultrasound image. Something in her expression changed, just for a second. Excuse me? She said, standing abruptly. Yeah, I need to get Dr. James Rutherford, L. Standard protocol, nothing to worry about? She left before either of us could ask why. Linda laughed nervously. That's never a good sign, is it? I'm sure everything's fine, I said, but my chest felt tight. 5 minutes later, Dr. James Rutherford entered 50-something silver-haired, the kind of calm, authoritative presence that had delivered half of Charleston's babies over 30 years. He glanced at the ultrasound screen, then at the lab monitor, then at me, then at Linda. Mrs. Bennett, I have good news. The baby is perfectly healthy, strong heartbeat, proper development, no concerns whatsoever. He paused. But I do need to speak with your husband privately for a moment. Just some administrative matters regarding the prenatal screening panel. Linda frowned. Administrative matters now. It'll just take a minute. Dr. James Rutherford L.O.'s tone was gentle but absolute. He gestured toward the door. I followed him into a small consultation room down the hall. The door clicked shut behind us. Mr. Bennett. Dr. James Rutherford, L's voice was quiet professional. As part of our standard prenatal care, we run a comprehensive screening panel. One component is paternity confirmation helps ensure accurate medical history for the child. He turned his computer screen toward me. The results came back this morning. I stared at the lab report. Bold letters across the top, paternity screening results. Biological father match identified in system. Donovan Trevor M., 99. 97% probability reference. Sample Employee Wellness Program. March 2025. The words blurred, refocused, blurred again. That's my son-in-law, I heard myself say. I know. Dr. I. James Rutherford Elwood's voice was steady, but his eyes held something that looked like carefully controlled anger. His DNA from Bennett Properties employee health screening is in our database. The markers are a conclusive match. Mr. Bennett, I'm very sorry. The room felt airless. Does she know you've told me? No. The results were flagged for my review only. I wanted to speak with you first. Don't tell her. The words came fast, instinctive. When we go back in there, you tell us it's a healthy baby boy and everything is perfect. Nothing else. Dr. James Rutherford L. studied my face for a long moment. Mr. Bennett, I have to ask, are you safe at home? If you need resources, domestic support services. I'm fine. I stood legs unsteady. Just give me 1 minute. Then we go back and this conversation never happened. I stood alone in that consultation room, staring at Trevor's name on the screen, while 30 years of building a life, a company, a legacy, collapsed into a single undeniable truth. My wife was carrying my son-in-law's child, and the vitamins she'd been giving me for 3 months, the ones that made me weaker every day, suddenly made perfect, terrible sense. I walked back to the ultrasound room, smiled, kissed Linda's forehead. Everything okay? She asked. Perfect, I said. It's a boy. She cried happy tears. I held her hand while Dr. James Rutherford L. finished the scan, printed photos, offered congratulations. I drove us home, made lunch, admired paint swatches. And when Linda left for her prenatal yoga class that afternoon, I sat in my home office staring at the ultrasound photo of a baby who wasn't mine, and called the one person I'd trusted for 30 years. Robert, I said when my attorney answered, I need the best private investigator you know, and I need him today. 2 days after the ultrasound, I unlocked my home office and closed the door behind me. Linda was out another prenatal appointment. Though now every appointment, every yoga class, every errand felt like a lie I'd been too blind to see. I spread everything across my mahogany desk. Bank statements, corporate credit card logs, calendars, phone records, keycard access reports. Everything I could pull without raising suspicion. If Trevor was the father, and the DNA said he was 99.97% certainty, then there had to be a timeline, a window of conception. Proof beyond the clinical numbers on Dr. James Rutherford. A screen. I started with Linda's pregnancy announcement. Mid-January, she'd told me she was 10 weeks along. Tears in her eyes, hand on my chest. Voice soft with wonder. We're having a baby. 10 weeks in January meant conception in early November. November. I pulled up my calendar app. November 14, 16, 2024, Columbia, South Carolina. The Commercial Real Estate Development Summit. I'd given a keynote on adaptive reuse projects. Gone 3 full days, 2 nights. I remembered because Olivia had called me from Atlanta. That same weekend she'd driven down to visit her college roommate, hadn't wanted to miss the trip despite my being away, which meant Trevor had been in Charleston. Alone. I opened the Bennett Properties Corporate American Express statement. Scrolled to November. November 14th, 6th, 23 p.m., Wentworth Mansion. $847. Merchant Code Lodging. Coded as Client Entertainment. Harper Prospect Dinner. November 15th, 8:47 p.m. Hall's Chop House. $312. Coded as Client Entertainment. Harper Follow-Up. The Harpers. The Atlanta development family I'd mentioned at that dinner weeks ago, the ones Trevor claimed to be courting. Except we'd never landed the Harpers. Never even got a second meeting. Because there was no meeting. I cross-referenced Trevor's keycard access logs at the Bennett Properties building. November 14th, out at 3:47 p.m. November 15th, no building entry recorded. November 16th, in at 9:15 a.m. 2 full days unaccounted for. 2 days at Wentworth Mansion while I was in Columbia and Olivia was in Atlanta. I checked Linda's personal credit card statements. November 14-16, no charges, no spa, no hotel, no restaurants, nothing. She'd told me she was having a spa weekend with college friends from Clemson. Girls' weekend, she'd said. Massages and wine and catching up. No transaction history. No evidence she'd gone anywhere at all. I kept digging. December, January, February, March. The pattern emerged like cracks, spreading through ice. December 8-9. I was in Atlanta, meeting with institutional investors about the Mount Pleasant mixed-use development. 2 days overnight stay. Trevor's Amex Kiowa Island Resort, $623 coded, Client retreat. Strategic planning. Olivia's work calendar showed she'd been covering evening clients those nights. Linda's statement blank. She told me book club at Jennifer's house. January 12th. I'd had outpatient surgery for a torn meniscus minor procedure, but Linda had insisted on staying home to take care of me and make sure I rested. I'd been grateful, except the corporate Amex showed a charge that night. Renaissance Charleston, $287. Trevor's note. Working late on Mount Pleasant permits grabbed a room to avoid the late drive home. Except Olivia had been home that night. I'd called her to check on her father. She'd mentioned Trevor texting that he'd be very late at the office. Not at the office. At a hotel. While his wife thought he was working and I was drugged on post-surgery pain medication. February 20th, Olivia's birthday dinner at Peninsula Grill. Family celebration. Except Trevor had arrived 30 minutes late, apologizing for a work emergency with the contractor. The Amex showed a 6:14 p.m. charge at Wentworth Mansion. Room service, $126. He'd been with Linda before coming to his own wife's birthday dinner. I sat back in my chair, staring at the spreadsheet I'd built. Every gap in my travel schedule. Every night Olivia worked late or traveled. Every evening I was occupied or medicated or simply trusting. They'd been careful, coded the charges as business expenses, timed their meetings around gaps in both our schedules, created alibis, yoga book clubs, late work nights, client dinners. But they hadn't been careful enough. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't passion overwhelming good judgment. This was calculated, deliberate. A months-long affair timed precisely around my absence and my daughter's availability. And the baby conceived in November, announced in January, had been part of the plan all along. My phone buzzed on the desk. Text from Linda. Appointment done, heading home. Want me to grab dinner, craving that Thai place you love? I stared at the message. The cheerful emoji, the casual affection. I typed back, sure, whatever you want. See you soon. Then I opened a new document and began cataloging everything. Dates, charges, hotels, timelines, cross-references. Every piece of evidence that would prove beyond DNA, beyond doubt exactly what had been happening in my own family while I smiled and handed out vitamins and planned for a future that was always a lie. My wife and my son-in-law had been having an affair for over a year, and now I was going to make sure everyone knew it. Robert answered on the second ring. Lucas, what's wrong? He'd always been able to read me, even over the phone. We'd known each other since law school, 30 years of business deals, golf games, and the kind of friendship that doesn't require pretense. I need to see you. Now. Somewhere private. 20 minutes later, I sat across from him in a back booth at a coffee shop on King Street, the morning crowd providing cover. I slid the printed DNA results across the table without a word. Robert read in silence, his lawyer's face carefully neutral. When he looked up, his eyes held something I'd never seen there before. Rage on my behalf. Jesus Christ, Lucas. There's more. I showed him the timeline the hotel charges the insurance policy. Everything I'd compiled yesterday. My voice stayed steady, but my hands shook as I turned the pages. Robert reached across the table and gripped my shoulder. I know someone. Hunter Blake. Ex-Charleston PD, ran major crimes for 10 years before going private. If there's anything else to find, he'll find it. And he's discreet. This won't end up in the society pages. Hunter Blake's office sat above a bookstore on Broad Street, accessible only by a narrow staircase. The man who answered my knock looked exactly like someone who'd spent 20 years dealing with Charleston's ugliest secrets. Late 40s weathered face eyes that missed nothing. He wore jeans and a button-down no-tie, competent hands that suggested he could still handle himself if needed. Mr. Bennett, Robert called ahead. His handshake was firm. Please sit. His office was spare desk, 2 chairs, filing cabinets, a wall of framed commendations from his police days. No wedding ring, no personal photos. A man who kept his distance from the mess he investigated. Tell me what you need, he said, pulling out a legal pad. I walked him through it. The DNA results. The timeline. Trevor and Linda's affair, the hotel charges, the insurance policy. He took notes in efficient shorthand, asking occasional questions that showed he was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Access, he said when I finished. I'll need everything financial record schedules. Phone bills if you can get them without tipping them off. Corporate accounts, personal accounts, credit cards. He paused, studying me with those sharp eyes. And I'll need to ask you something personal. How long have you been feeling sick? The question caught me off guard. What? You're pale. You've rubbed your temple twice since you sat down. Your hands are shaking. His voice was matter of fact, not accusatory. How long? 3 months, maybe longer. Headaches, nausea, fatigue. My doctor said stress. Hunter's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. We're going to add a medical investigation to the scope. Background check on Linda Bennett. Full workup, every place she's lived, every name she's used. Financial forensics on Trevor. And I want a complete accounting of everything you've ingested in the last 3 months. You think? I think I don't believe in coincidences. He slid a contract across the desk. 15,000 retainer. I work fast, I work quiet, and I work thorough. Nobody knows I'm looking unless you want them to know. I signed without hesitation. As I left descending the narrow stairs back to Broad Street, my phone buzzed. Linda, where are you? I'm worried about you. I stared at the message, then typed back, meeting with contractor. Home soon, my first lie to her. It wouldn't be my last. 3 days later, Hunter called while I was pretending to review blueprints at home. Linda had gone to another doctor's appointment or so, she said. Lucas, you need to come to my office, and you should sit down when you get here. I was there in 15 minutes. Hunter's office felt smaller than I remembered. Manila folders spread across his desk, like a dealer's hand. He stood when I entered, his expression carefully neutral. Sit, he said quietly. He opened the first folder and began laying out photographs. 8x10s color, time-stamped. Each one a small detonation. May 18th, 2025. 2:30 p.m. Wentworth Mansion Hotel. Linda's silver Mercedes in the parking lot. Trevor's black Audi beside it. The next photo showed them between the cars, his hand on her lower back, her face turned toward his. The third captured the kiss, not a peck. The kind of kiss that spoke of practice, of familiarity. They arrived separately within 5 minutes, Hunter said. Standard procedure for people trying not to be seen. More photos tracked them through the lobby. Trevor's hand found hers as they waited for the elevator. In the elevator camera, his hand in her hair, her body pressed against his despite her rounded belly. 2:47 p.m. Third floor hallway, room 307. Trevor opened the door. Linda went in first. The door closed. 5:15 p.m. Same hallway. They emerged separately. Linda first checking her phone, smoothing her dress. Trevor, 2 minutes later, adjusting his tie. I couldn't breathe. This was Wednesday, 3 days ago. While I'd been at the Mount Pleasant site actually working, the room was charged to this. Hunter slid a credit card statement across. Bennett Properties Corporate American Express. Trevor M. Donovan. Line item Wentworth Mansion Hotel. Client entertainment. 487. That's embezzlement, Hunter said. Using company funds for personal expenses? Felony? I stared at the photos. Linda's hand on Trevor's chest. Trevor's fingers in her hair, the easy intimacy of it. This wasn't just sex. This was a relationship, a parallel life they'd built while I'd been signing insurance papers and swallowing poison. How long have you been watching? 3 days. They've met twice. Wednesday at the Wentworth, yesterday at a West Ashley development site, your property empty lot. He paused. This isn't over. It's ongoing. The nausea hit hard. I made it to his trash can before I was sick. My body rejecting the evidence along with everything else. Breakfast, the vitamins Linda had given me that morning, the last fragments of the life I'd thought I was living. Hunter handed me water without comment. There's more, he said when I could sit up. I started the background check on Linda. He slid another folder across the desk, thicker than the first. Linda Bennett didn't exist before 2019. I looked at him, not understanding. I mean literally. No credit history. No employment records, no address history, nothing. She appeared out of thin air the year before she met you. His eyes held mine. That's not normal. That's not possible. Unless she's using a stolen identity. The photos on the desk seemed to multiply. Trevor's hand in Linda's hair. The time stamped 3 days ago. The embezzlement charges. The insurance policy. The baby that wasn't mine. And now this, my wife, wasn't even who she said she was. Who did I marry? I whispered. That's what I'm going to find out. But first I had to tell my daughter her husband was a traitor. I texted her that evening, can you meet me tomorrow? Just us. I need to talk about your mother's jewelry. A lie, but a necessary one. Trevor couldn't know. She met me the next afternoon at Waterfront Park, sitting beside me on a bench overlooking the harbor. The May sunshine felt obscene against what I was about to do. Dad, what's wrong? She'd always been able to read me. You look terrible. I need to show you something. My hands shook as I pulled out the DNA report. Olivia, I'm so sorry. She read in silence, her face going pale. This is Linda's prenatal test, but it says... Her eyes found the line. Paternal match, Trevor Donovan. 99.97%. There must be a mistake. Her voice was small, childlike. Trevor wouldn't. He couldn't. I handed her the envelope of photos. Didn't speak. Let the images tell the story I couldn't bear to say aloud. She looked at the first one, then the second. Her hands began to shake. When? She whispered. Wednesday, 3 days ago. But Olivia, I pulled out the November hotel charges. It's been going on for at least 7 months, maybe longer. With Linda, her voice cracked. My stepmother, the woman who... She couldn't finish. The sob came from somewhere deep, a sound I hadn't heard since Diane's funeral. We just bought a house, Dad. We were going to start trying for a baby. I pulled her against my shoulder, let her cry into my shirt the way she had when she was small, and the world had hurt her. Except this time I couldn't fix it with ice cream and a Disney movie. This time, the world had broken something fundamental. How long have you known? She asked, finally pulling back. The DNA results came Tuesday. The photos, yesterday. And you didn't tell me immediately. I needed to be sure. I needed evidence you couldn't deny because I knew... My voice broke. I knew this would destroy you. She was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the harbor. When she looked back at me, something had changed in her eyes. The softness had hardened into something sharp. What do we do? Those 4 words. Not what should I do or I can't believe this. What do we do? My daughter, my brilliant, strong daughter, asking how we fight back. We gather everything. Hunter's still investigating Linda's using a stolen identity. Trevor's embezzling company funds. There's more here than just an affair, but we need them to think we don't know. Can you do that? Pretend everything's normal? She laughed bitter and bright. Smile at the man who's been sleeping with my stepmother while planning a family with me. She wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders. Yes, I can do that. And Dad. When we're ready, when we have everything, we'll destroy them. We're going to destroy them. She echoed, and the cold certainty in her voice was both terrifying and magnificent. That night at dinner, Linda's insistence on family meals 3 times a week, I watched Olivia smile at Trevor across the table, watched her ask about his day, laugh at his jokes, touch his hand like nothing had changed. Trevor smiled back, oblivious. I'd never been prouder of my daughter. Hunter called the next morning. You need to see this, he said. Linda Bennett is a ghost. I was at his office within 20 minutes. He had documents spread across his desk, like evidence at a crime scene. At the center was a death certificate official seal from the Texas Department of State Health Services. Linda Marie Bennett. Born March 14th, 1984. Died June 8, 2014. Cause motor vehicle accident. Place Austin, Texas. Your wife, Hunter said quietly, stole the identity of a dead woman. I stared at the certificate. The real Linda Bennett had been 30 years old when she died, 12 years ago. The woman living in my house, sleeping in my bed, carrying what she claimed was my child. She'd been using this woman's name, her social security number, her entire identity, for at least 5 years. How my voice didn't sound like my own. Hunter pulled out more documents. A birth certificate, old school records from Austin, college transcripts from UT Austin, then nothing. A complete stop at June 2014. The real Linda Bennett was an only child. Parents died when she was in college, drunk driver. No close relatives. She worked as a graphic designer, kept to herself. Perfect target for identity theft, someone with a solid paper trail. But no one left to notice she was gone. He slid another document across. Your wife, whoever she is, started using this identity in 2019. That's when Linda Bennett suddenly reappeared after 5 years of being dead. New address in Savannah. New bank account. New driver's license with her photo. I looked at the driver's license photo. The face was Linda's. The name was a lie. The marriage license you signed in 2020. Hunter tapped another paper. Filed with the stolen social security number. Technically, your marriage might not even be legal. If she's still married under her real identity, or if she never properly established this false one, it's fraud. At minimum, possibly bigamy. Who is she? I asked. Her real name. That's what I'm working on. I found some digital footprints, online accounts, that seem to link back before 2019. A Michelle Torres shows up in some databases. Similar age, similar appearance. But that could be another stolen identity. This level of sophistication. He met my eyes. Lucas, she's done this before. This isn't amateur hour. This is someone who knows how to disappear and reappear as someone else. That takes practice. The room felt too small. I'd married a stranger. Worse than a stranger, someone who professionally deceived people, who stole identities. Like most people, changed clothes. Someone who'd targeted me deliberately. When we met, I said slowly, at that charity auction in 2019. She told me she was new to Charleston, just moved from Atlanta for a fresh start after a bad breakup. Probably all lies, Hunter said. Every story she's told you, every detail about her past, assume it's fiction. We don't know who this woman is, where she's really from, or what her real history looks like. What about criminal records? Can't check without knowing her real name. But if I had to bet she has a history. You don't learn to forge documents and steal identities this cleanly without prior experience. And Charleston's not cheap. Before she met you, she had to be getting money from somewhere. I thought about the ease with which she'd integrated into my life. The charity auction where we'd met, had she chosen me? Researched me? Known about my money, my recent widowhood, my vulnerability. I'm requesting records from surrounding states, Hunter continued. Birth certificates, marriage licenses, death certificates. If she's used other identities, other names, we'll find the pattern. And if she's done this to someone else. His phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then answered. Hunter Blake. He listened, his expression darkening. You're certain send me everything. He hung up and looked at me with something like pity. Lucas, we found a match. Linda, or whoever she is, was married before. His name was Richard Pemberton. He died in 2013. Hunter paused. And according to his sister, who I just spoke with, he died under very suspicious circumstances. His name was Richard Pemberton. He died in 2013. He was 58, wealthy, and supposedly died of a heart attack. Hunter pulled another file from his cabinet, spreading documents across his desk with the precision of someone laying out a murder board. Richard Pemberton, commercial real estate developer in Austin, Texas, net worth $8 million when he died. He slid across a photo a man with gray at his temples and kind eyes. He looked like I might in 3 years. He married Linda Beaumont in January 2011. Hunter tapped a marriage license. They met at a charity function in 2010, 6 months after his wife died of cancer. Linda told him she was an interior designer, new to Austin after a divorce. All lies, I said. All lies. Within a year, Richard started getting sick. Headaches, nausea, joint pain, extreme fatigue. Sound familiar? Hunter met my eyes. His doctors said stress over work. Standard blood panels came back normal. They prescribed anxiety medication. My hand went to my temple. What happened? He died 18 months after they married. February 2013. Cardiac arrest, acute organ failure. Linda had him cremated within 48 hours. Hunter paused. No chance for a second opinion. No retesting. No exhumation. And the money. $8 million to Linda. His sister Amanda contested, claimed undue influence. Linda eventually settled for $5 million and disappeared. Hunter picked up his phone. Amanda's been waiting 12 years for someone to believe her. She wants to talk to you. He hit speaker. Mr. Bennett. A woman's voice, Texas accent, exhausted and angry. Amanda Pemberton. Hunter says you're married to the woman who killed my brother. I'm sorry. Richard called me 2 weeks before he died. Said he felt like he was dying. I told him to go to the hospital, but Linda convinced him it was just stress. Her voice broke. Mr. Bennett, does your wife give you vitamins? The floor dropped. Yes. Richard took vitamins every morning. Linda insisted. After he died, I had the bottle tested, spent my own money because the police wouldn't listen. It was clean. She'd replaced whatever she'd been giving him. Amanda's voice hardened. Don't take anything she gives you. Not food, not drinks, nothing. And for God's sake, don't let her cremate you. Hunter ended the call. The office was silent except for my ragged breathing. Lucas, Hunter said quietly, your headaches. When did they start? 3 months ago, maybe longer. When did you update your will? I stared at him. January. Linda asked me to add life insurance. $5 million. She said it was for the baby. Hunter stood. We need a toxicology screen? Today, private lab confidential. His eyes were grave. And Lucas, stop taking anything Linda gives you. Not her vitamins, not her tea, nothing that passes through her hands. I nodded, but my mind was on that photo. Richard Pemberton, 58, trusting dead. I'm not sick, I said. I'm being murdered. I went home each night and pretended everything was normal. Smiled at Linda over dinner. Declined her vitamins with excuses, stomach spin-off. Trying to eat better first. She frowned but didn't push. She thought she had time. Hunter called at 8 a.m. on the second day. Lucas, get to the lab. Dr. Andrew Mitchell was in his early 50s, gray-haired, with the calm manner of someone who delivered difficult news too many times to sugarcoat it. Hunter stood by the window. Mr. Bennett. Doctor. Rutherford didn't waste time. You have colchicine in your system. Significant levels. This is not accidental. What is that? An alkaloid substance from the autumn crocus plant. In small doses, 0.6 milligrams, it treats gout. In larger doses, it's extremely harmful, a particularly insidious one. He turned his screen toward me, showing a symptom timeline. It mimics natural illness. Heart problems, kidney issues, general decline. Most doctors miss it because it presents like a dozen other conditions. That's why it's historically been used in criminal cases. How much has she given me? Based on your blood levels and symptom timeline, I'd estimate 2 to 3 milligrams daily for 12 to 14 weeks. 4 to 5 times the therapeutic dose administered consistently. He met my eyes. You've been on a dangerous trajectory. Another month and we'd be looking at irreversible multi-organ failure. The same cascade that took Richard Pemberton's life. Hunter stepped forward. The presentation is identical. Colchicine harm masquerading as cardiac event. Can you treat it? I asked. Yes. You stopped ingestion in time. We start chelation therapy immediately, aggressive hydration, organ monitoring. Your kidneys are stressed but functional. Liver enzymes elevated but not critical. He leaned forward. Mr. Bennett, you're fortunate to be here. The only reason you are is because whoever's been doing this miscalculated the timing. I thought about that afternoon in the ultrasound room 3 weeks ago. She ran out of time, I said. Lucas, this is attempted harm. Hunter's voice was urgent. Premeditated, documented, ongoing. We have medical evidence pattern from Richard's case, Amanda's testimony. We call Detective Walsh right now. No. Lucas, not yet. I looked at Dr. I. Rutherford. How long before I need treatment? You should start today, but if you're asking how long you can wait a week, maybe 10 days. Beyond that, you're risking permanent damage. 10 days. I turned to Hunter. The Charleston Preservation Society Gala is in 10 days. 200 people, everyone who matters in this city. If we take action now, it's a private takedown. Trevor walks away. Olivia gets dragged through a criminal trial where her husband's affair and her stepmother's actions become tabloid fodder for months. What are you proposing? We do it all at once. Public exposure. The affair photos. The embezzlement. The identity theft. Amanda's testimony about Richard, and medical proof of what's been happening. We put it all out there, one night, one moment. No chance to spin or hide. We expose both of them in front of everyone, and then the authorities take them away. Hunter was quiet. That's not justice. That's theater. That's Charleston, I said, and it's what Linda deserves. She tried to harm me quietly in the dark while smiling over dinner. I'm going to expose her in the light. That night, Linda was in the kitchen humming as she stirred something on the stove. She turned when I entered her face, lighting up. Lucas, how was your day? She touched my shoulder. Are you feeling any better? You've seemed so tired lately. I smiled back, let her kiss my cheek. Much better, actually. I think whatever was wrong is finally passing. Oh, I'm so glad. She squeezed my arm. I've been so worried about you. She'd made her mistake. She'd let me live long enough to fight back. Hunter and I broke into my own home the next day while Linda was at her Prenatal yoga class. Trevor picked her up. Surveillance confirmed it. We had 90 minutes. Let's move, Hunter said, pulling on latex gloves. He handed me a pair. My own house felt foreign. Every room Linda touched now seemed contaminated, dangerous. We headed straight for the primary suite. Her bathroom, her closet, her private spaces. Hunter worked methodically. Bathroom first. Medicine cabinet vanity drawers, the small lock cabinet beneath the sink. He pulled out a leather toolkit, selected a pick, and had the lock open in 30 seconds. Here. His voice was quiet, controlled. Inside an amber prescription bottle labeled Vitamin B Complex Bennett, Properties Wellness Program. The pharmacy label looked legitimate. Hunter pulled out a field test kit. Small vial, reagent strip. He opened the bottle, carefully extracted one capsule, broke it open. Applied the reagent. The strip turned dark blue within seconds. Colchicine, he said. Positive. This is your evidence. He photographed the bottle from every angle, label, contents placement, then returned it exactly where he'd found it. We kept searching. Linda's nightstand, locked. Hunter picked it. Inside a burner phone, encrypted. He connected a device, began copying data. This'll take 5 minutes. While he worked, I searched her closet. Designer clothes, jewelry, everything I'd bought her. Everything she'd used to build her perfect disguise. At the back, beneath a stack of sweaters, a manila folder. I opened it. Life insurance documents. My signature, except I'd never signed them. Policy amount increased from $2 million to $5 million. Beneficiary, Linda Bennett. Date, January 2025. Hunter. He looked up, saw my face cross the room, examined the documents. Forgery, he said flatly. She increased your policy without your knowledge, forged your signature. He photographed every page. More documents beneath bank statements. Cayman Islands account. Balance $127,000. Escape fund, Hunter muttered. She's been siphoning money for months. At the bottom of the folder, handwritten notes. Linda's handwriting, I recognized it from grocery lists. Birthday cards, all the small domestic lies. Trevor June, timeline, critical. After baby arrives cleaner, policy pays 60 days, post-event. Cayman transfer untraceable, Hunter photographed everything. She was planning to eliminate you after the baby was born, collect the insurance, and disappear with Trevor. My hands were steady as I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Folder in the same position, sweaters stacked the same way, no trace we'd been there. We have enough, Hunter said as we left the bedroom. Attempted harm, conspiracy, forgery, fraud. We call Walsh right now, this ends today. No, I pulled off the gloves. 8 days. We stick to the plan. Lucas. She spent months planning this, months smiling at me while dosing me with that substance, months pretending to be pregnant with my child while carrying my son-in-law's baby. I met his eyes. She gets exposed in front of everyone. Then she gets arrested. Hunter exhaled slowly. 8 days. That night, Linda handed me a capsule at dinner. Your vitamin, honey? She said, smiling. You're looking so much better. I think they're really helping. I smiled back, took the capsule, pretended to swallow with a sip of water, palmed it instead. After dinner, I went to the bathroom and flushed it, watched it disappear. For the first time in 3 months, I went to bed, knowing I wouldn't wake up weaker. 8 days. The Charleston Preservation Society annual gala was 8 days away. 200 of the city's elite would be there, including Linda, Trevor, Olivia, and me. We met at Hunter's office, first me, Hunter, Olivia, and Robert Fleming. The evidence covered Hunter's desk, like pieces of a puzzle, finally coming together. Surveillance photos, toxicology reports, forged, insurance documents, bank statements from the Cayman account. Amanda Pemberton's testimony about Richard. This is enough, Robert said quietly. He was my oldest friend, my business attorney for 30 years. More than enough. We can go to Detective Walsh today. No. I met his eyes. They tried to destroy me quietly in the dark, while smiling at me over dinner. I'm going to expose them in the light in front of everyone they tried to fool. Olivia touched my hand. Dad's right. Charleston society will finish what we start. They'll be pariahs, unemployable, toxic. Hunter leaned back. Walk me through it. The gala. I pulled out the event schedule. 7:30 cocktail hour, 8:15 dinner, 9 p.m. I'm scheduled to give remarks thanking sponsors. Recognizing donors. Standard foundation speech. That's when we do it, Hunter said. That's when we do it. I nodded. I give my speech. Then I make an unexpected announcement. Hunter, you'll control the AV system. The ballroom has 3 large screens for presentations. When I give the signal, you put the evidence up. Every photo, every document, every piece of the puzzle. And then, Robert asked, and then Detective Walsh and his team, who will be waiting outside, come in with arrest warrants. Attempted harm conspiracy, embezzlement, identity theft, forgery fraud. I looked at each of them. It happens all at once. No time to spin, no time to hide. 200 witnesses. Olivia's voice was steady. I want to be there. I want them to see my face when they realize we know everything. Sweetheart? No, Dad. Her eyes hardened. I've been pretending for 2 weeks that my husband isn't having an affair with my stepmother, that he isn't planning to harm my father. I've smiled at him over breakfast, kissed him good night, acted like nothing's wrong. I can handle one more night, and I want to be there when it ends. Hunter pulled out a floor plan of the venue. Olivia sits near the exit here. When Lucas makes the announcement, you leave immediately. Security will escort you out a side door. You don't wait for the confrontation. Agreed, she said. Robert made notes. I'll coordinate with Detective Walsh. The warrants need to be ironclad, no procedural errors they can exploit later. Timeline? Hunter asked. 7 days, I said. We finalize the presentation, confirm Walsh's team positioning, brief venue security. Linda and Trevor can't know anything's changed. Hunter's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. What? I asked. Surveillance update. He looked up. Linda's been making calls to private maternity nurses. She's planning something. The baby's not due for 6 weeks, Olivia said. Plans change, Hunter said quietly. We need to be ready for anything. 7 days later, Linda went into early labor. The call came at 2 a.m. one day before the gala. Lucas, it's time, Linda said, her voice tight. The baby's coming. I drove her to MUSC maternity in silence. Her hand gripped mine during contractions tight enough to hurt. I thought, this is the last time I'll touch her as my wife. You're so calm, she said between breaths. I knew you'd be strong for me. Strong, the word felt obscene. Labor lasted 6 hours. Linda insisted I stay in the room. I need you here. I can't do this without you. And I stayed because leaving would break the facade. I held her hand, counted breaths, watched the monitors. At 8:47 a.m., a baby boy was born. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Healthy lungs, his cry filled the room immediately. The nurse cleaned him, wrapped him in a blue blanket, placed him in Linda's arms. He's beautiful, Linda whispered, tears streaming down her face. Lucas, look at him. He has your nose. I looked at my son, except he wasn't my son. I saw Trevor in the shape of his eyes, the set of his mouth. But I also saw an innocent child who hadn't asked to be born into this web of lies. He's perfect, I said, and I meant it. The baby was perfect. Blameless. Linda smiled. What should we name him? Let's wait, I said gently. Make sure you're both healthy first. 2 hours later, Trevor arrived. I wanted to be here for Olivia and Dad, he said, embracing me with practiced warmth. Congratulations, Lucas. This is incredible. Olivia came with him. Her face was composed, but I saw the fracture lines. She hugged Linda, cooed over the baby, played her role flawlessly. Trevor held the baby. I watched his face transform genuine love, awe, wonder. The biological father holding his son for the first time, unable to claim him. It was tragedy and justice twisted together. He's amazing, Trevor said softly. His voice cracked. You guys are so lucky. Olivia stood beside him, watching her husband cradle the child he'd conceived with her stepmother. I saw her hands tremble, saw her swallow hard. Can I hold him? I asked. Trevor handed him over carefully. The baby was warm, solid, real. He opened his eyes, dark blue, unfocused, and made a small sound. This child will grow up knowing his mother tried to harm someone and his father betrayed his family, I thought. But he deserves a chance. He's going to have a good life, I said quietly. No matter what. Linda smiled at me from the bed. You're going to be an amazing father, Lucas. Again. I left the hospital at noon. The gala was 7 hours away. Linda would be discharged tomorrow one day, too late to attend. Trevor would go alone, representing the family, while Linda recovered. Perfect. I called Hunter from my car. Change of plans? I said. We do this without her. Without Linda, Hunter sounded uncertain. She's in the hospital with the baby. We exposed Trevor tonight, the affair, the embezzlement, everything. Detective Walsh arrests him at the gala. Then Walsh goes to the hospital tomorrow and arrests Linda for attempted harm conspiracy, forgery fraud. Two separate takedowns, I confirmed. Trevor gets exposed in front of Charleston society. Linda gets arrested in a hospital bed. They both go down, just not together. Hunter was quiet for a moment. Olivia, she'll be there tonight. She deserves to see Trevor's face when the truth comes out. Understood. I'll adjust the presentation focus on Trevor's crimes. Linda's involvement comes later. 7 hours, I said. 7 hours, Hunter agreed. I sat in my car watching the hospital entrance. Inside, Linda held a baby she'd conceived as part of a plan to harm me and steal my money. Trevor stood beside her playing the devoted son-in-law while being the biological father. And tonight, I would destroy him in front of everyone who mattered. Tomorrow, I destroy her. We do this without her. The Charleston Preservation Society Gala was everything Linda had wanted to attend. She'd chosen her dress 3 months ago, emerald green empire waist, to accommodate her pregnancy. It still hung in our closet, unworn. I arrived at Hibernian Hall at 7:30. The historic building glowed with warm light, its grand ballroom transformed into an elegant showcase of Charleston society. Crystal chandeliers, silk table linens, centerpieces of magnolia and jasmine. 200 guests in evening wear champagne flutes catching the light. Mrs. Constance Sheffield Doyen of the historic Charleston Foundation greeted me immediately. Lucas, we heard about the baby. Congratulations. Where's Linda? We're dying to hear all about him. I smiled. She and the baby are doing well, resting at MUSC. Doctor's orders she wanted to be here, but they insisted on monitoring them both overnight. Of course. Give her our love. I moved through the crowd, shook hands, accepted congratulations, played the proud new father, the generous philanthropist, the pillar of Charleston society. Everything I'd always been on the surface. Olivia and Trevor arrived at 7:45. She wore navy blue, elegant, composed, beautiful. Trevor wore his best suit, his hand at the small of her back as they entered, the perfect couple. Trevor found me near the bar. Dad, how's Linda? She's not answering her phone. I wanted to check on her and the baby. She's sleeping, I said easily. Hospital kept her phone so she could rest. You know how she is. She'd be texting everyone if they let her. He laughed, but I saw the tension in his shoulders. Something was off. He felt it, but couldn't identify it. You okay? I asked. Yeah, just big day yesterday. Lots on my mind. He glanced around the ballroom. Company, business, the baby, everything. Well, enjoy tonight, I said. You've earned it. Cocktail hour flowed into dinner. I sat at the head table with the mayor, the president of the Preservation Society, Robert Fleming. Olivia and Trevor were 3 tables away, close enough for me to see them far enough to maintain appearances. I scanned the room. Hunter was in the AV booth on the second-floor balcony. He caught my eye, gave a subtle thumbs up. Ready. Detective Walsh was outside with 4 officers, warrants in hand, waiting for my signal. Dinner was served she-crab soup shrimp and grits pecan tart. Charleston's finest. I barely tasted any of it. Olivia sat across from Trevor, laughing at something Mrs. Patterson said. She caught my eye. A flicker of connection, silent communication across the ballroom. We can do this. At 9 p.m., the society president stood, tapped her glass. Thank you all for being here tonight. Before we conclude, I'd like to invite our most generous sponsor, Mr. Lucas Bennett, to say a few words about this year's preservation initiatives. Polite applause, expectant faces. I stood, buttoned my jacket, walked to the podium at the front of the room. The ballroom quieted. 200 people turned toward me, friends, colleagues, people who'd known me for 30 years. They smiled, waiting. They had no idea what was about to happen. I placed my notes on the podium. Didn't look at them. Looked instead at the faces before me. Mrs. Sheffield in the 3rd row. The mayor at the head table. Trevor 3 tables back, his expression guarded. Olivia beside him, her hands folded perfectly still. Hunter's silhouette in the AV booth backlit by equipment screens. Detective Walsh's team outside ready. I gripped the edges of the podium. Good evening, I said. Thank you for being here. I want to start by talking about trust. What it means to build something, to believe in someone, to invest in a future together. The room was silent, attentive. I looked directly at Trevor, and what it means when that trust is broken. They had no idea. I adjusted the microphone. Thank you for being here. I want to talk about preservation, but not the kind you're expecting. Polite chuckles, expectant faces. 5 years ago, I remarried. Linda brought light back into my life, or so I thought. Yesterday, she gave birth to a baby boy. My son, I believed. I let the word hang. But 3 weeks ago, I received a DNA test result, sent to me by mistake. I nodded to Hunter. The first image, please. The screens flickered to life. Biological father, Trevor Donovan. Probability, 97% silence. Then gasps. Trevor shot to his feet. This is insane. Sit down, Trevor. I'm not finished. Olivia's hand pulled him back, her face unreadable. The affair has been ongoing for over a year. Hunter advanced the slides. Surveillance photos Trevor and Linda at Wentworth Mansion kissing entering room 307. Timestamps. November 14th, May 18th. Whispers exploded. Phones emerged. But that's only the beginning. Next slide, bank statements. Trevor Donovan has embezzled over $120,000 from Bennett Properties to finance this affair. Hotel rooms, dinners, all charged as client entertainment, all fraudulent. Trevor's face drained. Dad, I can explain. Can you explain this? New slide, a death certificate. Linda Marie Bennett died August 3rd, 2014. The room went deathly quiet. My wife stole the identity of a woman who passed away 11 years ago. Her real name is unknown. She was previously married to Richard Pemberton, a real estate developer in Austin. Next slide. Richard's obituary. Richard Pemberton passed away suddenly in 2013. Cardiac arrest, multi-organ failure. Cremated within 48 hours at his wife's insistence. No autopsy. I paused. His symptoms? Headaches, nausea, fatigue. The same symptoms I've been experiencing for 3 months. Next slide, toxicology report. Substance detected colchicine level 4. 2 ml toxic range. For 3 months, my wife has been giving me capsules she called vitamins. They were colchicine, a substance that in the doses I was receiving is harmful, eventually fatal. Mrs. Sheffield sobbed. Phones were up recording. Linda planned to end my life, collect $5 million in life insurance she forged my signature to increase and disappear. With Trevor and the money. The same pattern she used with Richard Pemberton. Final slide, arrest warrants. Linda Bennett, a.k.a. Michelle Torres. Trevor Donovan. Detective Walsh, they're yours. The doors opened. Walsh entered with 4 officers. Trevor tried to run. Officers were on him immediately. Trevor Donovan, you're under arrest for embezzlement, conspiracy, and fraud. Trevor's hands were cuffed. The room erupted, voices, flashes, chaos. USC Maternity Ward, room 312, 9:07 p.m. Linda sat propped up in bed, the baby sleeping in the bassinet beside her. She'd changed into her own silk pajamas. The hospital gown was too ugly. She scrolled through her phone, looking at text messages from friends asking about the baby. Next year, she thought, with Lucas's $5 million, I'll be at every event I want. The door opened. She looked up, expecting a nurse. Instead, 2 uniformed officers entered. Detective Walsh behind them, his expression neutral. Linda's smile froze. What's going on? Is something wrong with my husband? Linda Bennett, or whatever your real name is, you're under arrest. Walsh's voice was flat professional. What? She sat up straighter. Arrest for what? Attempted harm, conspiracy, identity theft, fraud, and forgery. Walsh nodded to the officers. Read her rights. This is insane, Linda's voice rose. I just had a baby. You can't. Your husband just exposed everything in front of 200 people at Hibernian Hall, Walsh said. The affair with Trevor Donovan, the embezzlement, the fact that you're not Linda Bennett, she died in 2014, Richard Pemberton, the colchicine poisoning. He held up his phone, showing a video of Lucas at the podium. It's over. Linda's face went white, then red. Her hands clenched the sheets. Trevor, already in custody. Arrested 7 minutes ago. For a moment she said nothing. Then her expression shifted, shock dissolving into cold, calculated fury. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. Walsh gestured to the officers. Take her. One officer stepped forward with handcuffs. Linda held out her wrists, her jaw tight, her eyes burning. As they cuffed her, she glanced at the baby, her insurance policy, her golden ticket. Gone. What about my son? She asked. Hospital Social Services has custody until family court determines placement, Walsh said. He'll be safe. They let her out. She didn't look back. Hibernian Hall, 9:15 p.m. Olivia stood. Someone handed her a microphone. Trevor. Her voice was clear, steady, devastating. I loved you. I trusted you. I wanted a family with you. You destroyed that. She paused. I'm filing for separation tomorrow, and I thank God we never had children together. The room burst into applause. Mrs. Sheffield rushed to embrace her. The mayor shook my hand. Robert Fleming appeared at my side. My phone buzzed. Text from Walsh Linda in custody. Baby safe. Both suspects transported. It's done. As they led Trevor out in handcuffs, he looked back at me. Not with anger, with something that looked almost like relief. The story hit every news outlet by midnight. Charleston real estate mogul exposes wife's conspiracy at charity gala. I woke the next morning to over 200 text messages. News vans lined the street outside my house. My phone rang constantly. Reporters, old friends, curiosity seekers. Robert Fleming arrived at 8 a.m. Don't say anything to the press, he said firmly. Not a word. I'll handle statements. You focus on recovery and Olivia. The arraignments happened within 48 hours. Linda appeared via video from the detention center. Orange jumpsuit hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked nothing like the woman who'd smiled at me over dinner for 5 years. The judge denied bail. Flight risk is extreme. Defendant used a stolen identity, has unknown true name access to offshore accounts. Remanded to custody pending trial. Linda's face remained blank, cold, calculating. Trevor's arraignment was in person. His parents sat in the back row, his mother crying, his father stone-faced. Bail set at $500,000. They paid it. Then outside the courthouse, his father made a statement to the press. We are horrified by our son's actions. He has brought shame to our family. We will cooperate fully with authorities. Public disownment, swift and brutal. Olivia filed for separation 3 days after the gala. Fraud, infidelity, emotional harm, Robert explained as he reviewed the paperwork. South Carolina allows expedited proceedings in cases of documented infidelity. 30 days uncontested. Trevor's not fighting it. His lawyer advised him not to. Good, Olivia said quietly. She signed the papers without hesitation. I watched her hand move across the page, steady, certain. My daughter was stronger than I'd ever given her credit for. The baby remained in state custody. Hospital Social Services has temporary guardianship, Robert explained. Trevor's parental rights are under review. His criminal charges complicate things. Linda's rights will be terminated given the charges against her. What happens to him? I asked. Foster care most likely. Then adoption if parental rights are fully terminated. I thought of the baby, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, dark blue eyes. Innocent, blameless. He deserves a good family, I said. Someone who'll love him despite where he came from. Olivia touched my hand. We'll make sure he's taken care of, Dad. Somehow. 2 weeks after the gala, we met with Robert and Detective Walsh for a strategy session. Texas approved the exhumation order for Richard Pemberton, Walsh said. If we find colchicine in the remains, Linda faces additional charges in Texas. Potentially capital charges? Robert nodded. Federal charges are also likely wire fraud, interstate identity theft. Trevor's looking at 10 to 15 years. Linda's looking at life without parole, possibly more if Texas pursues their case. Her real name? I asked. Still unknown, Walsh admitted. We're running prints through every database. She's been careful no prior arrests under any identity we can find. Hunter spoke up from the corner. I'm working on it. She slipped once, she'll slip again. That night, Olivia and I had dinner at home. Just the two of us. No press, no lawyers, no police. Quiet. Thank you, Dad, she said, for protecting me. I failed you, I said. I brought her into our lives. You gave me the strength to fight back. She met my eyes. You showed me what real integrity looks like, even when it cost you everything. I reached across the table, took her hand. We'd lost so much, but we still had each other. 3 months later, the trial began. The courtroom was packed. South Carolina versus Linda Bennett or Michelle Torres, as we finally learned her real name, had drawn national attention. Hunter's investigation had broken through Michelle Torres, born in Shreveport, Louisiana. Prior arrests for fraud in 3 states under different names, a ghost who'd left devastation in her wake. The evidence was overwhelming. DNA results, surveillance photos, toxicology reports, bank statements, forged insurance documents, Amanda Pemberton's testimony. And the final piece, Richard Pemberton's exhumation confirmed colchicine in the bone marrow. Texas filed separate charges. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. We find the defendant, Michelle Torres, guilty on all counts. Life without parole in South Carolina, another life sentence in Texas for Richard's case. Michelle's face remained cold as they led her away. No tears, no remorse, just ice. Trevor's trial was shorter. He accepted a plea deal, 12 years eligible for parole after 8. Embezzlement, conspiracy, fraud. At sentencing, he looked at Olivia. "I'm sorry, Olivia, for everything." She didn't respond, just stood, held her head high, and walked out. 6 months after the trials, life began to resemble normal again. My health had fully recovered. Dr. Rutherford pronounced me clear. No residual organ damage, just routine monitoring. Bennett Properties was stronger than ever. Trevor's embezzlement had been repaid through asset seizure. I established a foundation in Diane's name, the Diane Bennett Fund for Domestic Violence Prevention and Elder Protection. Our first grant went to a program training doctors to recognize coercive control and slow-acting harm. Olivia returned to her work as a therapist, specializing now in betrayal trauma. She told me once, "Helping others heal helps me heal." The baby, now almost 6 months old, had been adopted by Amanda Pemberton. "Richard would have wanted this," she told me, when the adoption finalized. "This child gets a fresh start, a family that will love him for who he is, not what he represents." It felt like justice. Imperfect, but real. On a cool November afternoon, I visited Diane's grave. The magnolia tree we'd planted had grown tall, its branches spreading wide. I sat on the bench beneath it. "I'm okay now, Diane," I said quietly. "I think you'd be proud of how Olivia and I fought back, how we protected each other." I paused. "I miss you every day, but I'm finally ready to live again." The wind rustled through the leaves. Peaceful. Sunday brunch with Olivia had become our new tradition, her place this time a small townhouse in the French Quarter she'd bought after the divorce finalized. "I'm thinking about dating again," she said, pouring coffee. "Me too, actually." I smiled. "I met someone at the museum fundraiser last week. Jennifer, curator of American history. We're having coffee Tuesday." "Dad," Olivia's eyes lit up. "That's wonderful." "One coffee?" I said. "We'll see." She reached across the table, squeezed my hand. "We're going to be okay." "Yeah," I said. "We are." Sunlight streamed through the windows. We talked about her clients, my projects, the foundation's upcoming gala. Normal things, good things. The scars would always be there, but scars meant we'd survived. And survival, I'd learned, was the first step to living again. I'm sharing this on Grandpa Stories because I don't want you to make my mistakes. Don't be like me. Don't trust without verifying backgrounds. Don't ignore persistent health symptoms your doctors dismiss. Don't let loneliness blind you to red flags. Every Grandpa Stories episode teaches hard-earned wisdom. This one taught me God gave us instincts for protection. Listen to them. When God places people in your life who truly love you, like my daughter Olivia, hold on to them fiercely. I should have died from that colchicine. That ultrasound appointment happening exactly when it did wasn't coincidence, it was God's grace saving my life. I share this on Grandpa Stories as both warning and testimony. Predators exist, but so does Providence. The Grandpa Stories community exists to protect each other through shared wisdom. Stay vigilant. Verify everything. Trust wisely. Thank God daily. A survivor. Grandpa Stories.